Just coming up to 1:10. It's Amol Rajan here sitting in for Jeremy Vine. And we're talking next about university cheats. Are you one of them? Because thousands of workers in the UK have bought fake degrees from a so-called diploma mill, a multi-million-pound diploma mill. Never heard that phrase before this morning, I've got to tell you. Based in Pakistan. It's not just unskilled workers forking out to cheat in their careers. Worryingly, buyers include NHS consultants, nurses, and even helicopter pilots. Now, these fake qualifications can cost anything between £3,000 to £500,000. £500,000. Who's got £500,000 to spend on a fake degree? Goodness me, I can think of much better ways to spend £500,000. Exact is the company supplying these bogus diplomas. They invent institutions such as, I love these names, Brooklyn Park University and Nixon University, and sell customers fake degree certificates attributed to them. In order to fool suspicious employers, Exact creates legitimate-looking websites for their university. So not just a fake degree, but actually genuinely websites, whole websites created to allow people to get away with this stuff. Now, these websites feature images of smiling students and even fake news articles singing the institution's praises. More than 3,000 fake Exact qualifications were sold to UK-based buyers in 2013 and 2014. And whilst purchasing a fake diploma in the UK is not illegal, which I find rather surprising, using one to apply for employment constitutes fraud by misrepresentation and could result in a 10-year prison sentence. But how easy is it for an employer to spot someone with a fake university degree? According to the Higher Education Degree Data Check, only 20% of UK employers actually run proper checks on applicants' qualifications. So what steps do you need to take as a recruiter to make sure your new employee actually has the qualifications they say they do? Have you ever uncovered a fraudulent degree in your workplace? Or if you really have some guts about you this lunchtime, dear BBC Radio 2 listener, and you've bought one of these degrees or you've lied about your education, give us a call, 08000 288 291, or email vine@bbc.co.uk. I'm joined live in the studio by James Reed, the chairman of the vast recruitment agency Reed. James, thank you very much indeed for coming in. Lots of people listening to this this news about sort of fake degrees and so-called diploma mills be amazed that they exist. But is this something you've been dealing with for some time?
Hello, Amol. Yes, it is. I mean, there's the fake qualifications is a big problem, and we employ 100 people in Reed who do nothing else but screen people. So they're checking qualifications all the time, and we catch people often.
And are people more likely to lie about qualifications or about the results?
Well, it's interesting that the more serious problem is people, faking qualifications, but lots of people also fake the results they got in their degrees. And we surveyed 10,000 CVs recently, and we found that 24% had exaggerated the result. So this is a widespread issue. But we also recently found someone who was applying for a job as a social worker, and they'd faked the qualification, and they'd also faked the professional registration. And this is someone who would be working potentially with vulnerable people or with children. And we reported them, and it was interesting because it turned out that they were of interest to the authorities. So this is a crime. It's misrepresentation. It's a fraud. And you have to wonder why someone who's lying about their qualifications is doing so, and what else they might do if they succeed to get into your organisation.
But the crime, that is fascinating what you say, because the crime is the use of this fake diploma to apply for employment, but actually the purchase of the fake diploma isn't a crime. I mean, that's a slightly anomalous legal situation, isn't it? I mean, don't we need to, especially when it could lead to, as you say, people, in the instance you cite, of people working with vulnerable people that ought not to be. I mean, it's a pretty terrible situation to be in.
Yeah, I think it should be a crime to purchase them as well. I mean, what are you buying it for? To put up on the toilet wall at home? I don't know. But I mean, I suspect that people are buying them so they might embellish their CV.
And let's talk practicalities. I mean, obviously we certainly don't approve of illegal behaviour on this network. But if you were to try and do that, what would you do? You just sort of literally Google these websites and you sort of fill it. How did people buy fake degrees? You apply for a form, and then what determines whether you pay $3,000 or, as I just read out, £500,000 for one of these fake diplomas?
I don't honestly know the answer to that question.
Good, that's a good.
I've never looked, but I mean, clearly it's not that hard because thousands of people have been doing it.
Yeah, exactly.
And this sort of mothership in Pakistan has been producing degrees all over the world, it would seem.
And have you ever caught a cheat? I mean, when you do find a cheat, you say 24% of your in this survey that you did have lied, or should we say exaggerated about results. What happens next when those 100 people at Reed say, hang on a second, that 2-1 you say you got from University of wherever, doesn't quite stack up, does it?
No, well, they won't. Their application will not be progressed, so that the employer won't see that candidate. So I think a lot of people need to think about very carefully what they put on their CVs, because I think in the past there has been a bit of a culture of exaggeration, perhaps in some areas, where people think, well, I'll get away with it. But now it's harder to get away with it because lots and lots of employers are looking very carefully because of the problems you've been talking about, and also the punishments are more severe. As you say, 10 years in prison is the maximum punishment for misrepresentation, and that's a long time.
That is a long time. I was talking with the great Tim Collins, the genius behind the show, the real brains behind the show, before we came on air. And we were saying, if you were going to lie on your CV, I mean, to make up titles like, I mean, if I got a CV in front of me, and I've, when I was involved in a newspaper, I'd often get CVs in front of me. I was thinking about who I was going to hire and sadly more often fire. But you'd get CVs looking at people you wanted to bring on. If it said Nixon University, I might think, hang on a second, does Nixon University exist? Or Brooklyn Park University, hang on a second, does that exist? Whereas if someone just said Manchester, I probably, if I'm honest, wouldn't check, and I'd just take it as read that they did go to that university. So isn't it, if you're going to lie about it, isn't it better to lie in a way that refers to established institutions? Wouldn't you have thought?
Well, I don't want, I mean, I'm the gamekeeper, not the poacher here, and I'm not going to give any tips. But the thing I think that the employer should do is confirm the degree. And you can do that by approaching the university in question, Manchester in your case here, with the permission of the applicant. Now, if the applicant doesn't give you permission, that should be ringing a big alarm bell.
Yeah, exactly.
So you can approach the university. You can also ask for them to show you the certificate with their qualification on it. Everyone should have one if they've got the degree, or you can use other organisations who'll charge you a fee to check it.
And your job at Reed is partly to make sure that your clients, who are potential employers, are getting the top talent in their particular sector, getting people of sufficient calibre. Is your sense that your clients and employers generally are wise to just how prevalent this practice is, or do you think people are generally unaware that this sort of thing is going on? I mean, I have to be honest, I'd never heard of a diploma mill until a couple of hours ago.
I think people who employ a lot of people are aware of it because they've come across these problems before. I think it might be the smaller employer or the new business that maybe isn't aware of it, and it's important that they are, because there are checks that they can do, and that they should certainly do them. Yeah.
And do you think, I mean, broadly speaking, why is it so fashionable, just talking about what the role of degrees is, why is it that people will spend up to £500,000 on a degree? Is it because now we have created a social expectation that in so many sectors, even sectors that aren't specialists, like the media, for instance, so you don't need a degree in media studies, or you don't have to go to journalism college, is there now such a social expectation around getting a degree that that's what's driving the fact that some people are paying £500,000 for a fake one?
Yeah, I don't understand why anyone would pay £500,000 for a fake one, because, I mean, you can pay a lot less and get a really good one if you put in the time and effort.
Of course, there is that. You could actually get a degree.
Yeah, and then you could have a good career and you wouldn't be found out. So, I think putting in the effort to get a good degree is a really good idea.
But over the time that you've been running Reed, I mean, do you feel that the sort of social expectations around getting a degree, I mean, there's been lots of talk in recent years because of the controversies over tuition fees and so on, as to whether or not it's worth getting a degree. Do you think that the way in which employers, your clients, look at whether or not people do need a degree is changing?
Yeah, well, a lot of employers ask for a 2-1 grade in a degree, and I suppose that might be encouraging some people to exaggerate.
Yeah.
And you shouldn't do that because you'll be found out. But I think a lot of young people, if they're considering whether to do a degree or something else, should weigh up that very carefully, because there are lots of other options now.
Yeah, exactly. You don't have, there are technical qualifications, there's apprenticeships, or of course there's the old unfashionable idea of going to work at a pretty young age and getting 3 years experience. I mean, lots of people would say, and I'm not taking a position on whether or not university is a good thing or not, because it depends on individual circumstances, of course, but lots of people would say, rather than going and getting a degree that isn't necessarily hugely valuable, racking up lots of debt, you'd be better off working for 3 years and getting 3 years of good experience.
Yeah, well, I went to a digital coding college in Tottenham last week. It was fantastic. It was full of young people who were learning digital skills, they were learning cybersecurity, they were learning how to program, and they were all going to go off and either go and get a degree in computer science or get a job as an apprentice. And I thought that was fantastic. Every town in Britain should have one of these places.
And not a single one of them bought a a fake degree from a diploma mill in Pakistan. James Reed, chairman of the recruitment agency Reed, it's really good to speak to you. Thank you very much indeed for coming in. If you've bought one of these degrees, be honest, there's thousands of you out there who have. That maybe you're not the sort of people that listen to Radio 2, which is obviously a fine, upstanding station, or if you're just someone who wants to be honest and say you've lied occasionally about what's on your CV. Maybe you would say you lied, you just exaggerated. You said you got slightly more B's at GCSE than in fact you did. Give us a call. I'd love to hear from you. If you've hired someone who turned out to be lying, or if you exposed them, again, let's hear from you. 08000 288 291 or email vine@bbc.co.uk. I'll be taking your calls after this. This is Kiala Settle and the Greatest Showman Ensemble with This Is